Clark, making her fourth All-Star appearance and leading the league in steals.
6 words. That's all it took for Caitlin Clark to stop the basketball world cold. A joke gone wrong, or a calculated move that reminded everyone who truly controls the conversation. Social media exploded, narratives shifted, and the WNBA, long dominated by careful messaging, was suddenly watching a star rewrite the rules in real time. This isn't gossip. This is strategy. This is power, and it's only the beginning. Plum's jab, Clark's empire. Take you back to July 2025, Indianapolis. The WNBA All-Star Weekend was supposed to be a celebration of women's basketball at its finest.
Ready for the culmination of what has been a wonderful celebration all weekend long.
Gainbridge Fieldhouse was packed with nearly 17,000 screaming fans. The energy was electric, and the league's biggest stars were gathered in one place to put on a show. But behind the glamour and the highlight reels, something was brewing that would dominate headlines for weeks to come. The players had coordinated a powerful statement ahead of the game, all wearing black shirts that read, "Pay us what you owe us" during warm-ups. This wasn't just fashion, this was activism. The WNBA's collective bargaining agreement was set to expire in October, and the players were demanding their fair share.
The expiration of the WNBA's collective bargaining agreement and tensions are running high.
Currently, WNBA athletes receive around 9% of league revenue, a stark contrast to their NBA counterparts who get 50%. Many of these women have to play overseas during the offseason just to make ends meet. The message was clear, unified, and necessary. But then Kelsey Plum opened her mouth and everything changed. Plum, the Los Angeles Sparks guard and vice president of the Women's National Basketball Players Association.
Kelsey Plum to the Sparks. This was the first trade in the league history, and Kelsey Plum heads to LA with the 9th overall pick.
It was sitting in the post-game press conference next to New York Liberty star Sabrina Ionescu. The cameras were rolling, reporters were listening, and Plum decided to share something that absolutely nobody asked for. When discussing the coordinated shirt protest, she said, "The T-shirt, Just United Front, was determined this morning that we had a meeting for. And, you know, not to tattletale, but 0 members of Team Clark were very present for that."
You know, not to tattletale, but 0 members of Team Clark were very present for that.
The room went silent for a beat. Sabrina Ionescu, sitting right next to her, couldn't hide her reaction. She rolled her eyes and fired back sarcastically. That really needed to be mentioned.
We had a very...
That really needed to be mentioned.
Even in that moment, you could see the discomfort written all over Ionescu's face. She knew exactly what Plum had just done, and it wasn't good. What was supposed to be a moment celebrating player unity and demanding fair compensation had just been hijacked by what appeared to be a petty jab at the league's biggest star.
The brightest stars in the game, Caitlin Clark going toe-to-toe with the biggest women's basketball stars.
Caitlin Clark, who wasn't even on the court that day. Now here's where context matters. Caitlin Clark wasn't at that meeting, and she wasn't playing in the All-Star game because she was recovering from a groin injury. She'd been dealing with this issue since mid-July and was at home taking care of herself.
Caitlin Clark will miss tonight's Fever game against the Sparks with a groin issue.
The idea that she was somehow dodging player activism or not supporting her fellow athletes was not just wrong, it was insulting. Clark had been instrumental in bringing unprecedented attention to the WNBA. Since her debut, television ratings had skyrocketed. Merchandise sales were flying off shelves. Ticket prices were climbing. And expansion fees had jumped from $50 million to $250 million virtually overnight. She was the reason the league was in a position to negotiate better terms in the first place.
Here comes Clark. This is one thing you get with Clark is great pace and great passes. Found Boston perfectly.
Yet here was Plum in front of the entire basketball world, suggesting that Clark and her team weren't really invested in the cause. The backlash was swift and brutal. Social media erupted. Fans called Plum jealous, petty, and short-sighted. Sports analysts weighed in, with Colin Cowherd roasting Plum for taking shots at the one player who transformed the WNBA from budget airlines to private jets. The data tells a story. Since Clark debuted, TV ratings have risen, merch is flying off shelves, ticket prices are climbing fast.
WNBA is out with new TV viewership numbers. It's been the most watched in the league's history.
And expansion fees have skyrocketed from $50 million to $250 million virtually overnight. She's the league's biggest bargaining chip in salary talks. Yet Plum opted to publicly go after the WNBA's most valuable asset. Timing, strategy, Clark. Caitlin Clark stayed silent. Not a tweet, not a statement, not a single word of defense. While the internet erupted on her behalf and think pieces debated veteran resentment toward rookies, Clark went about her business. She let the noise happen around her while she remained perfectly, strategically quiet. This wasn't weakness, it was calculated power. Clark understood something Plum didn't. Sometimes the best response is no response at all. Sometimes you let your success and influence do the talking. And when the moment is right, when the perfect opportunity presents itself, then and only then do you strike. This is chess, not checkers. Clark was playing 3 moves ahead while everyone else was still catching up.
Decades, the best get-ahead passer, and her three-point shot.
Fans defended her online, analysts debated Plum's comment, and social media churned with outrage. But Clark focused on what mattered: recovery, preparation, and building her empire brick by brick. Engaging immediately would have made her look defensive. It would have validated criticism and amplified Plum's words. So she waited. Let the backlash do the work. Let others spin the story. Colin Cowherd roasted Plum on national television. Social media tore apart the logic of attacking the league's biggest draw. Sabrina Ionescu's eye roll became the viral image that carried the narrative. And then, precisely when the moment arrived, Clark acted. It came just a day later. Kelsey Plum posted on Instagram, celebrating All-Star Weekend with a simple caption, "What a weekend," alongside photos of her smiling with teammates at Gainbridge Fieldhouse in Indianapolis. But Clark noticed something Plum overlooked: a massive Nike logo in the background. Plum isn't a Nike athlete. She switched to Under Armour in 2022, debuting her own WNBA colorway. Clark, by contrast, is Nike royalty in the league, holding a multi-million-dollar endorsement deal.
Wall Street Journal reports the basketball superstar is about to sign a Nike endorsement deal worth $28 million.
She wasn't about to let that oversight go unnoticed. Her response was 6 words: "Thank you for the Nike ad." No exclamation points, no emojis, no aggression, just a razor-sharp, perfectly timed observation delivered with the casual confidence of someone who knows her own power. The internet exploded. Screenshots flooded timelines. Fans called it petty, others genius. Sports blogs and podcasts dissected every angle. In 6 words, Clark had reminded everyone of her influence, her brand dominance, and her understanding of the business side of the game. Something Plum, despite years in the league, had failed to grasp. The brilliance was in the layers. On the surface, it was playful irony, but deeper down, it was strategic, a subtle yet unmistakable reminder of Clark's position as the league's most marketable star.
Caitlin Clark, one of the most dynamic players in the country, and
Plum had unwittingly handed her a perfect setup, and Clark delivered a knockout punch. It was precise, smart, and playful. It wasn't personal, just devastatingly effective. Clark didn't need to list achievements, ratings impact, or revenue generation. The 6 words did it for her. Plum went silent. No comeback, no clarification, no defense. Weeks passed. Anna and the story simmered while the internet dissected every nuance. Plum knew she'd been outplayed. Any response would only worsen the optics. And in that moment, Caitlin Clark reminded the world who truly holds the power in women's basketball. Not through words, press conferences, or interviews, but through timing, strategy, and presence. Clark wasn't just a player on the court. She was a masterclass in influence and control. She demonstrated that dominance in the WNBA isn't only measured in points, assists, or highlight reels. It's measured in understanding the moment, reading the room, and knowing when to strike, and, equally importantly, when to stay silent. With 6 simple words, Clark proved that the future of the league isn't just about athletic skill. It's about intelligence, poise, win at an unshakable command of both the game and the culture around it. Caitlin Clark didn't just respond, she reminded everyone that in this era of women's basketball, power is earned, timing is everything, and sometimes silence speaks louder than any statement. The power of one star. It wasn't until mid-August, nearly a month later, that Plum finally addressed the situation publicly. She appeared on Sue Bird's podcast, Bird's Eye View, and walked back her comments with what can only be described as damage control. "Oh, I made a bad joke," Plum admitted. "I made a really bad joke."
Oh, I made a bad joke. Yeah, I made a really bad joke. Tough one.
"I honestly was like, hey, Team Clark, they didn't make it to the meeting either. Just making a joke, trying to make the room lighter. I was making a joke that they were hungover, even though our team nickname was Hungover. So I was like, at least we made it." She went on to explain that she regretted how the comment took attention away from the real issue, which was player compensation in the upcoming CBA negotiations. She emphasized that all the players were unified, that everyone wore the shirts, and that she never meant for it to become a story about Caitlin Clark versus the veterans. What this entire saga revealed goes far beyond two players exchanging subtle jabs on social media. It exposed the complicated dynamics at play in the WNBA right now, a league experiencing unprecedented growth thanks largely to one player's transcendent popularity, while veteran athletes who've been grinding in relative obscurity for years watch the landscape shift beneath their feet. Make no mistake, the growth is real and it's transformative. Before Caitlin Clark's arrival, the WNBA was struggling with viewership numbers that made primetime games feel like afterthoughts. Arenas were half empty. Media coverage was minimal. The league was losing approximately $40 million annually, despite the incredible talent on display. Then Clark showed up, and everything changed almost overnight. Television ratings doubled, tripled, and in some cases quadrupled. Her Indiana Fever games became must-watch events. Merchandise with her name and number flew off shelves faster than retailers could restock. Ticket prices surged.
Caitlin Clark in town, more than $2 million in tickets were sold. That's an all-time WNBA record.
Suddenly, casual sports fans who'd never watched a WNBA game in their lives were tuning in to see what the hype was about. Expansion fees skyrocketed to $250 million as investors saw real profit potential for the first time in the league's 28-year history. For veterans like Kelsey Plum, who'd won 2 WNBA championships with the Las Vegas Aces and put in years of elite-level work, this shift had to be difficult to watch. Plum is an incredible player in her own right, averaging over 20 points per game for the Sparks. She's a former #1 overall pick who's been an All-Star multiple times,
A 4-time WNBA All-Star, making her Olympic debut,
and represented Team USA in international competition. She's earned every bit of her success through hard work and dedication, but despite all that, she's never received the kind of mainstream attention and financial opportunities that Clark has commanded from day one. That's not Clark's fault. That's just the reality of star power, marketability, and timing. Some athletes transcend their sport and become cultural icons. Clark is one of them. And while it's completely understandable that veterans might feel some type of way about a rookie coming in and immediately eclipsing everyone's visibility and earning potential, that frustration can't be directed at the person bringing the tide that lifts all boats. Because here's the truth that some seem reluctant to acknowledge: Caitlin Clark's success is everyone's success. The higher the ratings she drives, the better the next television deal will be for all players. The more merchandise she sells, the more revenue the league generates. The more attention she brings to women's basketball, the more little girls will grow up wanting to play, creating a deeper talent pool and more competitive league in the future. Clark isn't taking anything away from veteran players. She's creating opportunities that didn't exist before she arrived. Every player in the WNBA benefits from her presence, whether they want to admit it or not. The increase in the salary cap, the improved travel accommodations, the better facilities, all of that is possible because the league is finally profitable and sustainable in ways it never has been before. And a massive part of that shift is directly attributable to Clark's impact. The WNBA needs Caitlin Clark. It also needs Kelsey Plum and Sabrina Ionescu and Aja Wilson and Brianna Stewart and every other talented player who makes the product worth watching. The best case scenario is one where all these players recognize that they're stronger together, that Clark's star power creates opportunities for everyone, and that unity in labor negotiations matters far more than individual egos or perceived slights. In the Pay Us What You Owe Us campaign was powerful and necessary. The players absolutely deserve better compensation, better travel conditions, better resources, and a bigger share of the revenue they generate. But that message gets muddied when it's accompanied by public call-outs of the league's biggest star for not attending a meeting while injured. Caitlin Clark, for her part, has handled this balance remarkably well. She's been respectful toward veteran players, acknowledging the legends who paved the way for her opportunities. She's been a team player with the Fever, distributing the ball, celebrating her teammates' success, and not making everything about her individual stats. She's used her platform to advocate for women's basketball broadly, not just for herself. And when faced with criticism or slights, of course, she's responded with either silence or subtle humor rather than inflammatory rhetoric. That's the mark of someone who understands that her long-term success depends not just on individual performance, but on the health and growth of the entire ecosystem. She wins when the WNBA wins. She loses when the league looks petty or divided. So she conducts herself in ways that elevate rather than diminish, even when it would be easy to clap back harder. The art of playing cool, the 6-word Nike comment, was probably the closest she's come to throwing shade. And even that was playful rather than mean-spirited. It was the kind of celebrity roast that gets people talking without burning bridges. It reminded everyone of her market power without explicitly claiming superiority over other players.
Caitlin Clark, which one is
WNBA players?
Do you feel right now you're the best player in women's college basketball?
It demonstrated confidence without arrogance. And it effectively ended the back and forth by being so perfectly executed that any response from Plum would have looked defensive or petty. That's masterclass level social media strategy, the kind that makes people forget she's only been in the professional league for one season. She carries herself like someone who's been managing fame and public perception for decades, when in reality she's still figuring out this new level of scrutiny in real time. Looking forward, the Caitlin Clark-Kelsey Plum dynamic will continue to be one of the more interesting storylines to follow in the WNBA.
Kelsey had a big game, team had a big dominating game over Caitlin's.
Will it evolve into genuine rivalry with mutual respect, the kind that elevates both players and creates compelling matchups that fans can't wait to watch? Or will it remain tinged with the awkwardness and tension that's characterized their interaction so far? The answer probably depends on how both players choose to frame the relationship going forward. If Plum can move past whatever frustration or resentment might exist and recognize Clark as an ally rather than a threat, there's potential for a really positive dynamic where two elite guards push each other to be better. If Clark continues to handle criticism with grace and humor while letting her performance speak for itself, she'll continue to win over even skeptics who want to see her fail. And if both players can keep the focus on basketball rather than social media beef or press conference drama, everyone wins. The Indiana Fever and Los Angeles Sparks matchups will inevitably become must-watch television now.
Kelsey Plum, she's got nothing but two all-stars in front of her.
Fans will be glued to their screens wondering if there's extra intensity when these two face off. Will Plum defend Clark with playoff-level aggression like she did during the All-Star game? Will Clark go out of her way to put up big numbers against Plum specifically, making a statement on the court rather than through Instagram comments? Or will both players handle it professionally, treating it like any other game while the media and fans desperately search for drama that isn't really there? The truth is, both players are too smart and too focused on winning to let this distraction derail their seasons. Clark's trying to lead the Fever to the playoffs and prove she's not just a regular season phenomenon. Plum's trying to help rebuild the Sparks into championship contenders after moving from Vegas. Neither can afford to let personal feelings interfere with team success. What makes this situation so fascinating is that it represents a generational shift happening in real time. The old guard is being forced to share space with a new star who arrived with more fanfare, more money, and more attention than anyone who came before. That's uncomfortable. It creates natural friction. But it also creates opportunity for growth, for the league and for individual players. If handled correctly, this could become one of those legendary rivalries that people remember for decades. Bird versus Magic, Jordan versus everybody, LeBron versus the world.
Is Mr. Magic Johnson your friend versus Mr. Larry Bird simply the best player rivalry of all time?
Clark versus Plum could be the rivalry that defines this era of women's basketball. In the competition that pushes both players to greatness while giving fans compelling storylines to follow season after season. Or it could fizzle out completely, becoming just another forgotten moment of social media drama that seemed important at the time, but ultimately didn't matter. The difference will be determined by what happens next, by how these two elite athletes choose to write the next chapter of this story. 6 words change the conversation, but the question remains, how will the WNBA adapt to a world where one player can command attention, shape narratives, and redefine power in real time? Caitlin Clark isn't just playing basketball, she's rewriting the rules. And if this is only the beginning, what does the next chapter look like? And who will rise or fall under the new spotlight? The story is far from over, and the game will never be the same.